All right. So before we start, again, class recordings. Okay, I update all this class demonstration and lecture here. So this one's from last Tuesday. And I created this folder, file created or use it in class demo. So here I'll try to share some of project file that I did in that particular day. So this one is something I used it last Tuesday. So today we're going to continue to work on this. And if you don't have your file, project file that you worked on Tuesday, you can download this one and follow my demonstration. Okay? All right. So we're in week number 3. And we are now working on tennis for 2. Well, actually not that one. 3-2. And we kind of stopped at somewhere here. So if you remember, we talked about this scripting. Okay? We did get component, rigid body 2D, and add force. Okay? But we now have to think about how we can possibly create like random number. I mean, or yes.
Where did you say the file was? We don't have a file now on Blackboard.
Listen. Class recording, file created or use it in class demo. Yeah, you cost me like extra 30 seconds. That's $5.
Ooh. I don't got all that. I'm a college student.
You have student loan. All right. So we are going to look at this automation using the C# scripting. Okay. We kind of stopped after that add force. Okay. So now I'm going to open what I worked on before. Okay. And in case you have to use my file, you have to add it. You have to add that project folder, then it will show up and you can open it. Okay? And I'm going to use my file. Okay. So now we have that one script. Okay, that is attached to our ball. Okay. So I'm going to open that script file. Okay, so this is what we have. So technically, I mean, I showed you this, but I really didn't expect this much. Okay. So we sort of had something like this. Okay. Get component, rigid body 2D, add force, new vector to those two coordinates. Okay. Now, we have to think about how we are going to make this ball goes or start in different direction, okay, kind of in random fashion. Okay. So to do that, one thing we can do is using random number generator. Okay. This is a practice that everybody uses. If we have to do something randomly, okay. For a lot of times, I mean, like in real world, if you want to do some random stuff, your brain is smart enough to do something randomly. But in computer programming, you really have to think about this logic so that your computer understands every single step to do something in random fashion. So step would be, okay, a lot of times, number 1, okay, generating a random number. Okay. And then depending on that random number, we are going to make it as different cases. Okay. So here I'm not going to waste any time, so I'm going to just use the code. Float rand equal random dot range. Okay, all these things are case sensitive. Okay, maybe let's try to make it bigger. Well, I think this is the biggest. Okay, float rand equal random dot range, parenthesis open, okay, and minimum number and maximum number. I'll put like a negative 10.0f and 10.0f and semicolon. Okay. So here, you might wonder what this is. Okay, and again, at this point, try to make yourself familiar with this whole line. Okay, I'm going to explain what each thing means. Okay, but then again, yes, it's better for you to understand what that is. Okay, but again, I don't know how to speak Spanish, but I traveled in many Spanish-speaking countries, and then I probably don't know whole thing. I mean, I don't know the language, but in some occasion or in some situation, I know what I'm supposed to say. Okay, that doesn't mean I understand like each word thing, but I actually kind of try to get to know the situation, and then try to know the phrase or sentence that I have to say according to that situation. So here, same thing. Okay, try to remember this, or again, these days, if you're a programmer, okay, I mean, eventually you will memorize many codes, but at this point, you don't have to memorize every single thing. Okay, you can actually store this somewhere. Okay, and then whenever you need to use random number generator, you copy this and paste it and tweak some variable. Okay, that's basically what you need to do. Okay, so basically here, in terms of syntax, okay, I'm going to go over some of syntax, but you don't have to completely understand every single syntax at this point. But eventually, you will kind of get to know and get used to this syntax. Okay. Okay. This float is data type. Okay. And this is arbitrary name. Okay. That we are going to call that particular data. Okay. And random.range is function. Okay. So basically random.range parenthesis open minimum comma maximum. Okay. That will be kind of function or phrase that we are going to use if we want to create a random number between this minimum and maximum value. Okay. So here, let's try to do just a few things. Okay. So basically, this, if you look at this color coding, okay, this rand is in black color. Okay. This one is kind of metallic green, greenish color. And this one basically is, or this blue color thing, these are taken by Unity, meaning Unity system uses this word as something predefined. Okay? But this one, something in black, this one is some arbitrary name. Okay? So what I can do, okay, I got rid of that float. Okay? Then now I get this red underline. Okay? Meaning, oh, Unity now is complaining. Okay? Unity say, oh, I don't know what it is. Probably there's something wrong. Okay? So, I'm going to go put this float back on. Okay? So, whenever you use, some sort of data, okay, you have to use, you have to have that system establish it to use the data, okay. So here, a lot of times what we do is, okay, whenever you have to use certain data, okay, if that data is some sort of like dynamic value, meaning it could change its value. It's not fixed value. Then we are going to call it as a variable. Okay. So here, just for now, I'm going to say this. Okay, this is data type. Okay, data type is float. Okay, and data name or variable name is rand. Okay, and then whatever after this equal sign is the allocating data as rand. Okay, so we are going to do this again, like probably in 10 minutes. Okay, but one thing I want you to know is, okay, if you look at this number, okay, actually, you can go look at data type float. Then you will get like a lot of information about float and float data type. Okay. So here, okay. So when you look at this line, you might be wondering, okay, why this one has F at the end. Okay. In fact, if you get rid of that F at the end, okay, you will get an error. Okay. So basically, what F means, okay, this F indicates this is a float number. Float is data type that can hold any numeric value and something after that decimal point. Okay. So here, okay, we could have used int, okay, rand2 random range -10 and 10, okay, and now it doesn't complain because we are going to use this rand2 as integer. Okay, integer doesn't have to have this F at the end. Okay. So we'll come back to this, okay? So don't worry too much about it. But now what I want you to understand is, if you use this code, okay, we are going to generate a random number between -10 and 10 and allocate that number as rand. So here, let's say once we go through this line, rand becomes some number. Okay? A random number generated between -10 and 10. Okay? So now, what we are going to do, that's like random number generator. So here, one thing we can do, okay, one thing we can do is here, just to see this, okay, if you remember, we talked about debug.log, okay, parenthesis, and you can actually put rand in it. Then basically what's going to happen is, it will generate a random number and print out that number in console window. Actually, let's take a look at this. I'm going to save this and play. And now, if you look at here, if you go to console, it said -2.990347. That's a random number generated. Okay. I can do this again. This time, it generated -5.630762. Okay. So if you just keep doing it, now this time I got positive number, 9.392796. Okay. So now we know that whenever we start game, because of this line, we generate a random number. Okay. And then by using this number, we can actually make two different cases. Okay. One, push this ball to one direction. And second case, we're going to push the ball in different direction. Okay. So what we do, we can actually look at now if statement. Okay. If statement is if. Syntax for if statement is if parenthesis open, now you put condition. If rand, the random number generated is less than 0.0f. Okay. If it generate a negative number, I'm going to do case 1. So here I can do something like this. Debug log parenthesis open and quotation mark a negative number was generated. Okay. And then if positive number generated, it's not going to print out this a negative number was generated message. Okay. So I'm going to save this and play. So now negative 8.968551 was generated. Because it was negative number, it actually displayed that message, a negative number was generated. Okay. So in reality, we probably don't have to know what number was generated, so I'm going to get rid of it. Okay. And then now, what's going to happen is, if negative number generated, it will print out that message. If not, it's not going to display any message. So now, okay, a negative number was generated. Okay. I'll do this again. Now, no message means positive number generated. So now, this is an if statement, okay, and there is if else, okay. So here, I can do something like this, and I can do something like rand is greater or equal to 0.0f. Okay, I'm going to say a positive number was generated. So now, I'm going to save this. Okay. Now I have my two different cases. Okay. Now it said a positive number was generated. Okay. And play. Positive number was generated. A negative number was generated. So now we know that this thing generate a random number. If that number is negative, it will do this. Okay. If it's positive, it's going to execute this one. Okay. So if statement, if you look at the syntax, if parenthesis condition, okay, curly braces, and usually we say like behavior 1 or executing function 1. Yeah. And then this can be shortened by using else. Now, what it means, if negative number generated, it will do this. Okay. If this condition is not satisfied, we're going to go to else, and we'll do this. Okay. This is if-else statement. Okay. So let me see. I cannot make it any bigger, but so now this is case or condition. If this gets satisfied, we are going to do this. If not, we're going to do this. So now I'm going to bring this up. Okay, I'm going to copy this, okay, and put it here. Okay, so my logic is if negative number was generated, I'm going to display this message and push my ball to this direction. So y negative 300, x negative 300, so this way, the ball will go to the left side. Okay. And then a positive number generated, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to change this to 300. Positive, meaning my ball will move to right direction. Okay. So let's see this. I'm going to save this. Okay. So now it moved to right direction and left, right, and left. So depending on that number generated, so it will push the ball in random direction. So we kind of randomize how this game gets started. Okay. Any questions so far? And then again, I do have all this segment of video tutorial. So random direction, random.range, if statement, and if else statement. Okay. You can review this by watching this. Okay. And then here again, like this one has some like video tutorial from Unity. Okay. So you can watch this. Yeah. I actually didn't watch this, so I don't know what they talked about, but it said they talked about if statement, so I'm sure it will be beneficial. All right, now let's go to the next gameplay module. Okay, now we have ball, net, and table, and ball movement done. So let's look at the pedal. Okay. So now I'm going to go back to my assets. Go to sprite. I'm going to use this one. Okay, it's kind of big, so I'm going to scale down to 0.1, 0.3, maybe 5, something like this. Okay. Then position -7 or -8, okay. 0 and 0. Okay. So this one will be my left pedal. So I'm going to name it as, maybe I'll just name it as player 1. Okay. Player 1. Okay. And then I'm going to have like player 2 over there. Okay. Okay. So player 1. Now, this is something we have to think about. We have to move this guy. Okay. So we want our like user or player, okay, move this guy around. Okay. So now let's try to look at how we can do that. So obviously, to automate that, we need to add a script. So select player 1, add component. We are going to add new script. Okay. I'm going to probably put player movement. Okay. And I have this player movement. Okay. So this is player movement. Okay. So now, okay, what we are going to do, okay, we are going to use some input, okay, from the keyboard. Whenever people push down a particular key, we are going to make, okay, our pedal move around. Okay. So first thing we have to understand is how we can listen, okay, our input. Okay. So here, first thing we're going to use is input get key down. Okay. So if I go through this is something I can use. I'll just copy this and paste it here to see whether it really works. Actually, they actually use an if statement. If input.getKeyDown, like space. Okay. So if this is true, we are going to print space key was pressed. Instead of print, actually, I'm going to use debug. Debug log. Okay. And I'm going to see whether it's going to work or not. So I copy that and paste that into my update function. I'm going to save it. Okay. And play this. So now in console, you will see actually, whenever you press spacebar, it displays space key was pressed. Okay. So now, let's think about why we need to put this guy under update. Okay. So if I put this one start, okay, is it going to work or not? Anybody? No? Why? Yes, that's correct. So if you put this one in start function, it gets executed only once before the first frame of your game. Meaning, I can save this, play, okay. I keep pressing spacebar, nothing happens because this function, okay, already executed before the first frame. So it doesn't get executed anymore. But if you put this guy here, update, this one get called, meaning get executed every single frame in your game. So even though there's nothing happens, this guy still get executed, meaning like stay active to get or to recognize your input. Okay. So this is input get key down. One thing you can do, okay, try to just type it. If input get key down, okay, and then you will actually see things you can use. Okay, so you can use space like this, okay, or you can use now key code. Okay. So now we are going to use get key down and key code dot, and then you can use A, B, C, D, E, or whatever keyboard, whatever key on your keyboard. Okay. So this is a player 1. So I probably want to use W as up and S as down. So I'm going to find like W. Okay. Now W. Okay. And then now I can say debug .log. Okay. W key was pressed. Okay. So now I'll save this and play. Now I have 2 keys. So W, it said W key was pressed, and space key was pressed. So now we do have this system, okay, that takes input from key on your keyboard. If it is W or space, it will do something. Okay. So our goal now is we want to move this guy up and down. Okay. So now I'm going to actually get rid of this. Okay, and then copy this, paste it, and then this one I'm going to put it as S, W and S. Okay, S key was pressed. So here my logic is now whenever W is pushed or pressed, okay, move the pedal upward. That's what I'm going to do. Okay. When S key was pressed, is pressed, move the pedal downward. Okay. So now we know that whenever this key code or key is pressed, okay, we are going to execute whatever function inside of this curly braces. So we have to figure out how we can move this guy. Okay. So here, we're going to use actually different code, but you might wonder, oh, we knew kind of how to push this one, so maybe I'll try to do this. Okay. I'll copy this and paste it. Okay. Component rigid body 2D, add force, new vector 2. So now I want to move it upward, right? So that means I have to push my thing 0.0 on x-axis, some positive number on y-axis. Maybe I'll just use 50 and see what's going to happen. Okay. Do you think it's going to work? Yes or no? Not sure? Yeah. I'll just say sort of, because I'm going to save this. Okay. First, we're going to get an error. Okay. I'm going to, this is an error we talked about last Tuesday. I'm going to play. Okay. Whenever I try to push W, now I have this missing component exception. The reason why is, we are trying to get an access to rigid body 2D on this pedal, but we haven't added that rigid body 2D on our pedal. So now I'll go to player 1 and add component, physics 2D, and I'm going to add rigid body 2D. Oh no, not that one. Okay, remove. Okay, physics 2D and rigid body 2D. Okay, and then I'm going to change this gravity scale as 0 because we want this guy to stay there unless the S key is pressed. Okay, so now it's 0 and play. Okay. Actually, it works. Okay. But then again, problem is I'm not even touching it now, but it continued to move because we actually add some force. So now I'm going to push my W key only once. Okay, I already added that force, so my key just keep moving. Okay. So now, I mean, there's many different ways to do this. Like here, if you program before, you might think, oh, maybe here I can create some timer, like cool down timer, just like 0.5 seconds. Okay, once this guy start moving, after 0.5 seconds, it will stop. I'll get rid of that force. Okay. That's something you can do. Okay. But now let's try to look at kind of easier one. Okay. So here, again, try to treat this kind of learning new vocabulary for a new language course. So for now, try to kind of use this code, but later I will try to explain what that is. Or actually, I already explained it here, okay, somewhere. Okay. So now, I'm going to use this guy, rigid body 2D dot velocity. Okay. So this is what I'm going to use. Okay. This is your reference. Okay. And so instead of this one, this is what I'm going to do. Okay. Variable bar bell as velocity equal get component I'll find rigid body 2D. Okay. And then velocity. Okay. So now I define this bell as velocity of this component. Okay. So that's step one. Step two, I'm going to say bell, this is a velocity for this particular game object, okay, in 2D setting. So it has velocity dot x, okay, as a velocity on the x-axis, and velocity bell dot y, okay, velocity on y-axis. So I'm going to use velocity bell dot y, okay, as maybe 5.0 f, okay. And then now I'm going to apply this. Get component, okay, rigid body 2D, okay, velocity equal bell dot y. So here technically, I'm probably you already typed this, but it could be something like 5.0 f. Oops. Okay, something like this. Okay. Or in a long term. So there's reason why I want to put it this way, but I'm going to explain it soon. Okay. But anyways, now I'm applying. Okay. Oh no, actually, bill. Okay. So I define this bell as velocity of this component, and now I define this velocity on the y-axis as positive number 5.0. And now I apply that into this game object. So 3 steps. Okay. So now I'm going to save this. Okay. So this one again, at this point, try to treat these as kind of new vocabulary. Whenever I have to move my character, I have to use this. Okay. And then now let's see whether it really works or not. And now I'm going to play W. Whoa, it shoot up. Okay. Okay. And then I'm going to do this. Whenever S is pressed, I'm going to copy this and paste it. And this one, I'm going to make it as negative. And now, up and down, up and down. But again, it actually keeps going. We don't want that. Okay? So now, we are going to do this. Okay? I'm going to have one more if statement. Okay? So here, look at this part. Okay. This is again new vocabulary. Okay. I'm going to say, okay, this is something you have to kind of memorize, well, not memorize, but use it without fully understanding for the first time. But eventually you will understand what that is. Okay. I'm going to put exclamation point, okay, and input dot any key. Okay. So what this means is, okay, if you put simply input any key, let's actually start from this one. Okay. here my logic is, okay, let's actually try to do this. Okay. Input dot any key basically means, okay, so here instead of get key down, actually this is what I'm going to do. Okay. So here, what this guy means is, if any key is pressed, I'm going to make vertical velocity as 0. Meaning, okay, let's actually see this. Whenever you play this, okay, W, oops, okay. Now actually it doesn't move at all, okay, because this one get caught. If you press W and S, it's still like any key, so velocity gets stuck as 0. Okay. So here the logic is, okay, I'm going to actually just go forward. So input any key, okay, meaning if you press any key, we are going to do this. Okay. Now I'm going to put exclamation point. Okay. This means basically not. This is a logical operator, not. Meaning, if any key is pressed, if not any key is pressed, we are going to make this vertical velocity as 0. Okay. So now we have 3 cases. You could press W, and we are going to move it upward. You can press S, meaning it will move downward. And now if you don't press anything, okay, it will basically make this guy stop. Okay. So now, save, play, W, S. So if you pressing down your thing, your key, it will move up and down. But if you release it, now it gets filtered in this condition, so it's not going to move at all. Okay. Does it make sense? Not sure? Okay, now let's look at this one. Okay. This one isn't something that important, but let's try to do this. Okay. So I put it as 5, -5, and 0, right? And I play this game. Maybe I want to make it a little faster. How can I do that? Yeah, use higher number, right? 10, -10. Save. And play. Now it moves faster. Okay. But I might want to tweak it again. Okay. Then I can go back to my script and change this number. So now I realize, okay, let's say I close this. Play this, test this game. Oh, it's too fast. I want to change it slower. Then I have to go to my player 1 game object and open this script. So it takes some time. So we want to kind of shorten this process by using public variable. Yes?
For the barbells, after the second one,
Yeah.
for some reason, after the first barbell, it's saying that I'm not allowed to add multiple ones.
Yeah, well, I cannot take a look at yours now, so just you should watch this video after the class or ask me a question later. All right. So now, this is what I'm going to do. Okay? Instead of 10.0f, I'm going to make it as variable. Again, variable means some space holder or some storage place where it can store some different types of different values. Okay? So I'm going to name it as speed. Okay? And then this one will be negative speed. And now, obviously, it's complaining. Okay? So whenever we have to use this variable, we have to declare. I have to let Unity know I'm going to use this word speed as certain data. Okay? The variable name. So I have to declare this thing. So this will be float number speed equal to like 5.0f. Then basically this will be used here and here. Okay? And now, again, okay, because we have to kind of go through a lot of stuff, okay, I cannot spend much time to explain every single thing. But again, if you watch those videos, I clearly said that those video tutorials, okay, is your kind of reference, kind of textbook, right? I actually explain these things a lot better in these video tutorials. Because now I'm actually watching the clock, 11:19. I have to finish this whole thing by 11:45. So I might rush. But in these video tutorials, I took my time. I explain things a lot better. Okay? And there's reason why you have these video tutorials. Watch them. Okay? If you remember, at the first day I said, this is 3 credit hours courses. Okay? Meaning it should be 25% of like a full-time student status. Meaning you have to put like at least 10 hours. Okay? 10 hours of your time, like weekly, for this class. Okay? If you just come to class, that's like 2 hours, 30 minutes. So you still have to study 7 hours, 30 minutes outside of the classroom and watch these things. Okay? You might say like I'm mean, but then again, like I have to kind of push you because we have to kind of develop simple game like every week. So you really have to watch this, and then that's kind of like for you to make smooth transition to game 330 and 331. You really have to get through this. Okay. Anyways, so now this one now, instead of changing two numbers, I can change this number only once. Okay. And now I'll actually show you even better way. I'm going to put this guy. I'm going to cut this guy. Okay. So I put it. If you put this one inside of update function, okay, it would be treated as local variable, meaning that guy, that variable only works inside of this function. Okay. But now I'm going to show you one trick. Okay. I'm going to make this one as public variable. Okay. And now this is outside of this update function. Now I'm going to put public float speed. Okay. Oops. Public. Okay. So now, advantage of using this public variable. Okay. So let's actually see this. I'll go back. Okay. This is a local variable. Okay. I'll save this and play. Yeah, it works. It works fine. Okay. But whenever I have to adjust the speed, I have to go back and then change it, right? So now, I'm going to actually cut this, put it right over here on the top inside of that public class definition. Then now I'm going to put public. Okay. And now I'm going to save it. And now play it. I mean, it basically does the same thing in terms of function. Okay. But now, if you click player 1, you look at player movement script. Now you see this speed right over here. And you can change its value from Unity. So I can just type 10, and then it will be faster. Okay. I can change this to 1, play. Now it's a lot slower. Okay. So this is kind of trick that people use, okay, by using public variable. Now, because this variable is public, meaning you can get an access to this particular data from outside of this script. A lot of times in Unity, from Unity inspector window. Okay? So now, this is important because, okay, we need to have player 2, right? So I'm going to duplicate this, okay, and then change this to player 2, and then position positive. So now I have player 2. For player 2, okay, what I want to do is, okay, it's too slow, but I want to actually use different key. Okay. Now you're thinking, oh, okay, player 1, first I'm going to change this to 5, speed to 5. Okay. Player 2, 5. Okay. And player 1, okay, I use it W and S. Okay. So I want to use like up and down arrow. Okay. So you can possibly change this to key code dot up arrow, key code dot down arrow. Okay, simple. And I'll save it. Wait, we are actually using player 1, player 2, same script. So now if I just play this one, okay, it doesn't work anymore for W and S, but it works for up and down arrow. Okay, I'm pressing up and down arrow. How can I fix this? Anybody? Yes.
You can just copy the script and rename it to something else.
Yes, yes. So you can use this player 1. It could be player movement 1. This one, I'm going to create same thing and then name it as player movement 2, right? So you can do that, totally do that. So let's do this first. Player movement. I'm going to duplicate this, or even here, player 2, I'll remove this and add component, script, player movement 2, okay, and create an add. I'm going to go to player movement here, okay. I'll basically copy this whole thing and player movement 2, paste it, okay. This is player movement 2, up and down arrow. Player movement, I'm going to use W and S. W and S. And I'll save it and play. Oh, I didn't save the player movement too. So I'm going to use save all. Okay. And now, play. Now W and S and up and down. Oh, we're done. But wait a minute. Do I really have to like use 2 script? What if I have like more than 2 pedals? Like, do I have to use all this all this same script with different name? Okay. So here, I'll actually give you one more trick you can use. Okay. So I'll just get rid of this player movement 2. Okay. I'm not going to use it. Okay. And I'll go back to player 2. And for the script, okay, I'm going to actually still use player movement script. Okay. But wait, if I make any change for this key, it doesn't work for another pedal, right? So now, here's one trick that I want you to remember and get to know how to use. So now, okay, if you look at this one, it said input get key down key code dot w. Okay, this can be treated as a variable. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to say this. Okay, here, I'm going to make it up like something as key code now is a data type. Okay, I'm going to say move up is the name of my variable equal to key code dot up arrow. Okay, and then now instead of this guy, okay, I can say, oh, this is move up. Okay, this is move up. Okay. And then I can copy this, paste it. I'll make it as move down as down arrow. Okay. And then here, instead of this, I'll put move down. Okay. So basically, it does the same thing. Okay. It does exactly the same thing when I press up and down arrow, up and down arrow. Okay. But now, here's the trick. I'm going to make these guys as public. Public, public. Meaning, I can control this move up and down variable from the inspector window. Because we are using key code as our data type, Unity automatically recognizes this as key code. It will give you choice. Okay, let's see what's going to happen. I'll save this. Player 1. Okay. Now here, because we made this move up and down as public, now you have move up. Okay, choices here. I'll choose W. Move down, I'll choose S. Okay. And then player 2, okay, move up, up arrow, move down, down arrow. So now, I'm using one single script, but by using this public variable, I get an access from this Unity inspector window and use different value. So now, if you play this, W and S, and up and down. So I'm using one single script with different variables. Okay. That is, again, explained like here and here, making your variable public. Okay. And then, okay, here one thing I talked about again is how to modify player move or player movement for different projects. So now we know that this one has it will move your character or player up and down. Okay, one thing you can see, you can kind of copy this. Well, you can figure this out home, but I'll show you this really quickly. I can copy this. These two, paste it, okay. Copy this, paste it, and now I'm going to make it up, move right, right arrow, move left, and left arrow, okay. And then here, okay, this one will be moved right. To move my character or player on the right on the y-axis, Okay, I mean on the x-axis. Now I have to change this to x. Okay, and then this one move left and change this to x. And now we want to stop our thing in both directions. So velocity x equals 0. And now, okay, it took me like 30 seconds. Now I have this thing. That I can move my thing like up and down and left and right. Okay. So this one actually is something you can use for space shooter or your like RPG game. You have your, instead of this pedal, you can have your character, and then you can move your character up and down and left and right. Yes, it's going to be a little bit longer because you probably want to control your animation too. Okay, but the logic is, we have this system. Okay, usually we call it like input listener. Okay, it will listen your input and then execute certain things to move your characters. Okay. All right, now let's try to finish this up. Now one thing I realized, they don't actually interact with one another because player 1 and 2, they do not have that collider. So player 1 and 2, I'm going to put physics 2D box collider. Okay, and then maybe I can create some wall. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create game object, empty game object, name it as walls or wall, and probably I'm going to use this table. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate this. Oh no. Duplicate, put it inside of my wall, and then where is this guy? Okay, this one here. So I'll basically put something like this. This is a bottom wall. So wall, BOT, bottom. And now I'm going to duplicate this. Okay, and then put it up here. Okay, then will be wall top. And then I need left and right. So duplicate, wall right, and then I'm going to put it somewhere at the center. And then X would be 9, 9. And then scale wise, 0.1, and Y would be 15. Yeah, that's good enough. And one more, duplicate, wall left, and this one will be negative. So now I have walls, and now my ball will stay or confined inside of this game. And then now I realize, what happened to my paddle? Oh no. Okay, so here I'm going to actually go to my player 1 and 2 paddle. I'll go to rigid body. So here you can constrain, freeze rotation. That's one thing you can do. Or we don't want to actually have too many restrictions. So one thing you can do, you can increase mass of this one, like 999999999, whatever. Okay, and then player 2, same thing. Then it will be kind of maximum number it can take, 1 million or something. Okay. Now because this one has really high mass, okay, even though it gets hit from this, it doesn't get affected. Okay. Okay. So now you have some sort of tennis for 2 game. Not perfect, but this would be some like a replica of what tennis 4 did, okay, in 1960s. And one more thing I would go over would be, let's say we want to have some background image. Okay, so for background image, let's say I want to put some image like this. Okay, not the best background image. It only important how to get to know how to do this. Okay. So where'd that image go? Okay. So let's say you have this image. Okay. And I'm going to bring that image into my game sprites folder. Okay, where is that image? Where? Okay, here. And I'm going to put this one as background image. So if you just drag it, it will be something like this. Okay, I'm going to change this to BG background and then make it bigger. Too big. Oh no. So maybe 7, something like this. Okay. And now I'm going to play this. Oh, I cannot see my ball and pedal and net and thing. Okay. So this is a kind of common, not necessarily mistake, but things that happen. So we want to push this background image really back away from our camera. Okay. To do that, if you look at this background sprite renderer, there is order in layer. Okay. This order in layer as default is 0. Okay. If this number is higher, that means it's closer to your camera. So in this case, if you want to move this one back, you have to use lower number, so -10 or something. Oops. Then I just put -10. It's pushed back. It's moved further away from my camera. So this order in layer reflects distance from your game object to your camera. -10, it moved away. Okay. And then your assignment is to create tennis for 2. Again, this is an assignment, so like I want you to demonstrate that you know how to do this thing. And at the same time, I literally gave you everything you need. And then I actually even saved this file and post it on Blackboard. So if you just submit something like this, well, you're not going to get like 100%. Okay. I usually actually give probably like around like 90% if you submit some functional game. But if you want to get like 95 or 100%, I want you to add something different, or I want you to add some more creative stuff. It could be some like better graphics. So instead of pedal, it could be like a tennis racket or some images or something. Okay, and then you can possibly Google, oh, how can I add background music? Okay. I probably showed you in that video tutorial, but yeah, and then you can do that. Or, okay, this one is really quick trick you can use. Okay, I'm not saying you have to use this, but it's all going to be trial and error. So one thing you can do, I can go to ball, okay, and then I can do add component. There is trail renderer. Okay. Basically, this is just one game component that will create some trails of your thing. So now I have this trail renderer just added. I didn't touch anything. And now play. Oops. Where did it go? Okay. Okay, material. I'm going to put something later, but okay, what would be good? So now it will create that. Actually, I touched one thing. I try not to do that, but now basically what I did, I added this material like a live map parameters as default high resolution. So it basically created this trail of my game object. Okay? Do I really like it? Well, not necessarily. But what I'm saying is, okay, differentiation is really important. Okay, I'm going to when I grade your thing, I downloaded like a 30, like tennis for two. Believe me, it's not that exciting actually. See like same tennis for two 30 times, right? So if you want to obviously create better game, okay, one thing you have to think about is differentiation. Your game must be different, okay? But we do have this kind of framed kind of requirement. Yes, you have to create tennis for two. Within that limited requirement, you still have to think about how you can differentiate your game from others. That is like one thing that I'm looking for if you want to get like 100%. Okay, like it could be trail renderer, it could be sound, or it could be really superb background image or something. Okay, that's something like so. Yes, if you just do everything I ask you to do, you will pass the course. Maybe you will get like B plus or A. But if you really aim to get like A plus, or if you want to kind of show me that you truly care about this course, yeah, try to just find this one thing and add that thing so that your game will be different than other people's. All right, any question? Yes.
Oh, you said you're gonna upload this?
Yes, I'm going to upload this file.
Okay, I was
Yeah.
falling a little behind on it.
Yeah. So that you can, and then I just recorded this one so you can watch it this one, or you can actually watch the video tutorial that's segmented on Blackboard.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I have one announcement. I'm not going to be here next week and Tuesday in 2 weeks. I'm going to miss 3 classes. That doesn't mean you're not going to do anything. I'm going to have probably 15 minutes, like a video, the kind of announcement types of thing, like what I want you to do. Basically, next week, you are going to work on 2D Pong. And everything, video tutorial and all the lecture materials are already on Blackboard. But each like morning, Tuesday and Thursday morning, I'm going to post video, and I'll be kind enough to email you and remind you, okay, don't come to class, but watch this video and do these things, okay? So I'm going to fly to San Francisco and like Shenzhen, China, to meet with Tencent China. Hopefully, we are going to have some like international internship, or Tencent China. Tencent actually will open their studio in Santa Monica in California. So they're going to open it, and then what we've been talking about is we want to have that internship, like student internship in their Tencent studio in Santa Monica. So that's like something I will work on in China. But bottom line is, yes, I'm going to miss you guys. Maybe not. but anyways, I'm going to post all the video stuff, so you will get the instruction and everything. But you don't have to come to class for the next 3 meetings, okay?
All right.
And if you have any questions, just email me.
Next 3?
Next 3, yes. Alrighty. Yes.